My mom has this notebook. It's like a running tally of every penny she spent raising me. After another blowout argument, she told me I needed to pay her back. Fine, I said. I'll pay you back. Every last cent. And the life you gave me, too. 1. The hospital called, reminding me about my 5th chemo appointment tomorrow. I glanced at my savings account. $72, $326. 18. I told them I wouldn't be coming. The nurse sounded confused. With treatment, you could live another year, maybe even longer. If you stop now, if you let the cancer spread, you might have less than 3 months. I knew that, but I couldn't touch that money. It was everything I'd saved from 4 years of college and 4 years of working. It wasn't a small amount, but I still had a debt to pay. To my parents, my mom had it all figured out. Raising you cost us at least $72,000, she'd said. Until you pay us back, you'll owe us, even in death. They had 3 thick notebooks, meticulously documenting every expense since I was born. A 50-cent popsicle, a $1 pack of hair ties, $2 for children's Tylenol, $7 for a lunchbox, tuition, allowance, every single thing they'd ever given me was recorded. The grand total, $9, $634, 24. 50 cents back then isn't the same as 50 cents now, Mom explained. Inflation alone is 5 times that, not to mention all the expenses we didn't even track. Food, clothes, shelter, none of that's free. And the time we spent, the sweat we poured into raising you, that can't be measured in dollars and cents. Eventually, after some complicated calculations, she arrived at a nice round number. $72,000. Before you throw a tantrum, before you ask for anything, remember what you owe us. Ask yourself if you even have the right. So, I wasn't interested in chasing a few extra months. I was going home to pay them back. Every single cent. 2. I sold everything in my apartment for next to nothing, quit my job, and on a gray Tuesday morning, slipped away from the city I'd spent 8 years building a life in. By 3 p.m., I was back in my parents' house. Mom had blocked my number and my social media, so I texted Dad to tell him I was home. When Mom got back, a neighbor, Mrs. Henderson, gave me a long look. You Carol's daughter, Ashley? I gave a tight smile and nodded. Mrs. Henderson's expression immediately soured, and she took a step back. All that education and you can't even respect your own parents. What a waste. Ungrateful child. You'll get what's coming to you. Clearly, she'd heard my story. I wasn't even bothered. I just smiled sweetly. Careful what you wish for, Mrs. Henderson. Mean words can come back to bite you. The nerve, she huffed, hurrying away. College graduate, my foot. No class at all. The hallway was freezing. No central heating in our old house. The cold seeped into my bones, my toes going numb, my legs trembling uncontrollably. This winter seemed colder than any other. I huddled in my 2 down jackets, waiting. 8 hours crept by, the street lights flickering on, then off again. Finally, I saw my cousin, Brittany, post a picture on Instagram. It was Mom, snuggled under a blanket on Brittany's couch, binge-watching TV. The smile on her face practically radiated through the screen. The caption, perks of having a cool aunt? She runs away from home and comes to hang with me when she's upset. Hope someone isn't jealous. Winking face. Oh, so she went to Brittany's. The same Brittany who'd held it over my head my entire life. My cousin in the loosest sense of the word. I scanned the flyer stuck to the wall, found a locksmith's number, and made the call. 3. Brittany's room was as cozy as ever, while mine had been converted into a game room. My closet and bookshelf were gone. The fold-out bed I'd slept on for years was propped up in the corner, the mattress bare, stained with unidentifiable brown splotches. A cardboard box tucked away held all my remaining possessions. Graduation photos, my diploma, a few certificates of achievement. I gathered every photograph of myself in the house and burned them. There weren't many, 17 in total, including 4 class pictures. Dad called from his night shift at the warehouse, asking how things were going with Mom. I lied and said I was still outside. He was silent for a moment. Why don't you find a motel? Your mom's helping out a friend. She'll probably be back in a few days. Okay. The next day, Brittany posted a video. She was eating lunch in her company cafeteria. Mom was there, too, along with Dad in his work uniform, sweetly fetching drinks for them. Mom was teasing Brittany, picking shrimp off her own plate and giving them to her. Dad beamed at them both, his kind face glowing with happiness. I had a morbid thought. I wished they'd waited a few more days, waited until I died in the house. It would be quite the homecoming, to find their daughter's decaying corpse. But it wasn't to be. 3 days later, they came home. 4. Who told you to break into the house? You're paying for that lock. Mom shrieked the second she stepped inside, still in her heels. He said the lock wasn't damaged, I retorted. You think he'd lie? So much education, and you're still stupid as a rock. Then she noticed my makeup. And that's just ugly, she added. Breaking and entering is a crime, you know, she continued. I stared at her, dumbfounded. So, this was someone else's house to me now? Dad nudged Mom. Easy, Carol. She rolled her eyes and reluctantly dropped her purse. Then her eyes widened. My gold, she gasped, rushing to her room. I need to check if anything's missing. Moments later, she stormed out, furious. Give me your pockets. Empty them now. Why do you think I took it? I asked. Don't play dumb. She grabbed her keys and swung at me. I didn't dodge fast enough. The sharp edge of the nail file grazed my cheek, drawing blood. You stole from your aunt. You stole at school. You steal here at home. You've been a thief your whole life. And you dare deny it? You're a disgrace. I'd lived with my aunt and uncle for a few years. That's when the rumors about my sticky fingers started. After they passed away, I moved back in with my parents, but the accusations followed me. The most humiliating incident was in middle school, during a parent-teacher conference. A parent's wallet went missing. The teacher found it, in my desk. Stealing from your aunt wasn't enough? You had to bring it to school? Mom slapped me, right in front of everyone. I stared at the judging eyes, tears welling, unable to speak. I became the school pariah. For the rest of the year, I was alone, but I hadn't done anything. Maybe I was just born unlucky, or maybe people just didn't like me. No one ever believed me, not even my parents. I'm not the only one who lives here, I tried to argue. Mom scoffed, but you're the only thief, right? Mom and Dad were innocent. Brittany was innocent. Only I was tainted, rotten to the core. Dad just stared at me, his lips pressed together, disappointment etched on his face. Call the police, I said. If you're accusing me of stealing, you need proof. Your prejudice isn't enough. 5. They didn't call the police. Dad wouldn't let her. It's not something to brag about, he said. Why air our dirty laundry? So, my gold is just gone? It was worth thousands. Mom protested. We'll find it, Dad said, winking at her, his eyes flitting over to me. It's in the house somewhere. It'll turn up. Even though Mom couldn't stand being in the same room as me, she stayed. She was determined to keep an eye on me, convinced I'd run off with the gold or steal something else. She locked her bedroom door and Brittany's, too, and camped out in the living room, watching my every move. If she had to use the bathroom, she'd make sure I was busy, either cooking, washing dishes, or mopping. Terrified I'd have a free moment to steal. Why are you so quiet in there? What are you doing? If I didn't answer within 30 seconds, she'd panic, crack open the bathroom door, and crane her neck to peek inside. Then, spotting me, well, answer me. Cat got your tongue? A few days passed like this. Finally, unable to bear the monotony any longer, Mom invited her friends over for a game of mahjong. Carol, honey, why are all the blinds closed? It's gloomy in here. Gotta keep the thief out, Mom said, glancing at me, who was basking in the meager sunlight filtering through the window. Oh my, her friends gasped, turning to look at me. Did you lose something? Yeah, the gold bars I bought with Brenda last year. Stolen, Mom announced. No. Did you call the police? Of course I wanted to. Robert wouldn't let me. Why not? Mom jerked her chin towards me. It just happened a few days ago. Robert doesn't want people talking. Her friends exchanged knowing looks, clucking their tongues sympathetically. The silence stretched for a few minutes before someone spoke. Poor Carol. Should have had a second kid, just in case. It's not about having another child. Some people are just born bad. Can't change that. Poor Carol, stuck with her. Emboldened by their numbers and seniority, they gossiped without restraint. Mom played the role of the selfless, wronged mother to perfection, fueling their indignation. They practically vibrated with the urge to berate me. I rolled my eyes and smiled sweetly at one of them. Hey, Mrs. Davis, how's that thing with Mr. Johnson going? Heard his wife's a bit slow. Has she caught on yet? Mom's face went white. Ashley, don't be ridiculous. Isn't that what you said? That Mrs. Davis is old enough to be his mother, looks like a toad, and dresses like a teenager trying to get his attention? You said if you were Mr. Johnson, you'd puke. Mom, never one to hold back, had been gossiping about her friends to Dad for days. I'd only caught snippets, but it was more than enough. And you said Mrs. Miller's so filthy, she hasn't showered in 2 months, smells like a sewer, and you have to disinfect everything after she leaves, just in case you catch something. Don't forget to wash the mahjong tiles later. Ashley Lynn. The game broke up in a flurry of angry accusations, and Mom's friends stormed out. Mom was livid. She slammed her bedroom door, leaving her purse and shopping bags by the door. She didn't even have time to yell at me before bursting into tears and calling Dad. 6. Mom refused to come out for lunch that day. She told me to get out, that she didn't even want to hear my voice. But, fearing I actually would leave, she threatened to call the cops if I stepped outside, reminding me that she wouldn't be the one embarrassed. I'm not going anywhere, I said. I'm staying for the holidays. That made her even angrier. She stayed locked in her room all afternoon. When Dad got home from work, he took her a plate of food and coaxed her into eating a few bites. Later, he pulled me onto the balcony for a talk. I shouldn't have embarrassed her like that. Your mom's proud. She has a thin skin. Now she can't even face her friends. They kicked her out of their group chat. He tried to reason with me. Just apologize to Mrs. Davis and the others. Tell them you were just mad at your mom and made it up. It'll all blow over. I refused. No matter what Dad said, I wouldn't budge. You've changed, he sighed. You used to act out, sure, but it was always directed at other people. You never deliberately humiliated your mother. You always listened to us. I didn't say anything. When you stop expecting anything from people, you stop tolerating their bullshit. I'd coughed all night, my back aching so badly I couldn't sleep. Mom's only response had been to tell me to shut up or die already. No good morning, no concern, just this one last winter. I'd give them this one last winter, then I was done. 7. I figured we'd spend the remaining days locked in this stalemate. Mom was too stubborn to back down, and I wasn't about to apologize. But then, on Wednesday evening, as temperatures plummeted, Mom spoke to me. Your dad's going to the grocery store. What do you want? I was stunned. Before I could respond, she snapped. Well, spit it out. I haven't got all day. That night, she actually cooked. She made her famous spicy chicken, placing the platter right in front of me. Dad gave me a pointed look. Chicken was $15 a pound, plus the spices. You'd pay a fortune for this at a restaurant. The pungent smell of chili peppers made my throat itch. I covered my nose, but I couldn't help it. I started coughing, a deep, racking cough that left me gasping for air. Bam! Mom slammed her chopsticks on the table. Stop being so dramatic. Eat it or don't. Don't appreciate it. Fine. Dad soothed Mom, then plopped the biggest piece of chicken into my bowl. You love spicy food. Your mom made this especially for you. Try it. I didn't love spicy food. When I lived with my aunt and uncle, the school provided lunch, but we had to bring our own sides. My aunt packed food for Brittany, but never for me. I didn't have any money, so I'd sneak a half spoonful of chili sauce into my lunchbox and mix it with the rice. It was salty and burned my throat, but it was better than nothing. I savored every bite, eating the plain rice first, and only when it became unbearable would I add a tiny dab of the chili oil, saving the actual flakes for last. I had constant canker sores back then, and spent hours after school in the bathroom, crying as I went to the toilet. Eventually, my aunt hid the chili sauce. I resorted to digging through the trash cans for discarded ramen seasoning packets. The flavor powder was good enough to mix with rice, and if I was lucky, I'd find an intact sauce packet. Those were the best. They melted over the hot rice, came in all sorts of flavors, and sometimes even had little bits of meat. Half a packet was enough to flavor my entire lunch. After years of that, my stomach was ruined, and I couldn't stand the taste of spicy food anymore, but Brittany loved it. Spicy chicken was Brittany's favorite. Mom always made it when we came home from school. I don't eat spicy food, I said quietly, and my throat hurts. Dad frowned. Just one piece won't kill you. Drink some water. Your mom went to all this trouble. Don't hurt her feelings. Mom snorted. See? Always complaining about me favoring Brittany. I make the same dish for both of you. She eats it, you don't. How is that favoring her? Some people are just ungrateful. Before she could finish, I shoved the chicken in my mouth. The spice exploded in my sinuses. I struggled to suppress the cough, my body trembling, but the food felt like shards of glass scraping down my raw throat. I started coughing again, harder this time. I felt like I was coughing up my lungs. I spat into my hand, a bloody mess. Mom screamed. Disgusting. Get away from me. You ruined dinner. See, Mom? See how much you disgust me, too.